trying something different. I decided to move this entire window. I decided to move on this side of the stream because this side of the window in GameMaker Studio has the least useful stuff, or at least the least used in my case. So I decided to go ahead and shift the camera, the webcam, to be positioned here so that it's not obstructing all the important stuff, like for example the creation code, the room properties, all that stuff. And you know, all of these labels are not obscuring too much of the result code, so we can actually look at stuff now without me having to create separate overlays and whatnot. So I can actually start continuing on with our prototype. All right, and I'm gonna put on some music, some tunes. Good lord, there's so many lo-fi hip-hop beat stations. Jesus. Okay. Oh yeah. I'm gonna need to make sure that I move the chat though. Where is the chat? Browser. Here we go. Beautiful. Okay. Oof, I'm getting game banged in here by all these ghosts, man. Highest. Oof. This is the Birth of Reapers. This is a game that you have not seen me work on yet. It's a very upbeat metal soundtrack hack and slash that's supposed to be with a co-op mechanic, based on the Crawl game. Inspired by Crawl. Okay. So what I need to do here I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and I need to hide the player sword. Calm down, I'm having trouble making one. You're looking at like 4 games at once. No, Birth of Reapers, Child of Ether, and the one that you and I are supposed to be making, Project Starsky. That's all. That's all. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Yeah. And this is supposed to be just a local co-op game, no online co-op. That's just gonna take forever. That's right. Okay, so obviously we wouldn't have this many enemies at once. Not now. Friday, you'll start working on the camera system for your game. Partial free roaming. A lot of placeholder images. Yeah. See, he doesn't quite hit it every single time. Yeah, also you can spam them like that. That's not good. What am I going to be adding here? Okay. So, what am I gonna do now? I mean, first of all, I gotta limit this. Also, the sword, I think we'll have to be... I think we'll have to make that... Make this collision mask slightly smaller. Had to see someone play Rainbow Six Siege with a Wiimote. Really? Okay. So as I can see... that radius. Okay, try this out. You know what I'm gonna have to do? I might have to increase the game to 60 frames. Maybe. We'll see. So master object. Create event. Frames. Huh. Sprite speed per game frame. Cool. Skeleton animation get frames. Wow, interesting. I think that's spline related. Is the collision each pixel? Yes. Precise pixel collision on the sword mask. Okay, so game speed FPS. Okay, close. Game set speed. So we're gonna say game speed FPS. This will be 60. Game speed FPS. Okay. I'd have to slow down a whole bunch of stuff now, though. So yeah. Chances I'll have the setup script. It feels smoother. I want to say it feels smoother. But I don't think it's twice as fast. I think it's just like... Oh. No, I don't think it is. Let's see. We're set to like 140. Or 144, or whatever it is. Let's see. Game speed. Game get speed. FPS real. What the? Okay, so that value actually does set the speed. So I think we set it just 60. I think we should be fine. All we need is like anime sounds, and that's it. Okay. So let's get this down to 60. And let's run this. It is significantly faster, or noticeably faster, I should say. But it's also a lot smoother. Okay, so I'm thinking, which directions should these monsters be moving when I hit them? They should be moving away for sure, but shouldn't it be like where should the opposite direction be calculated from? The center of the player, which is kind of what it looks like right now. I think I need to get that sword blur animation in. Otherwise it kind of looks like empty air is hitting the enemy. Alright, so something like this. Ooh, cool. Looks interesting. Haven't colored it yet, but so far it looks interesting. Hey. Oh, well, see, that doesn't work. Okay, I need to see the values down here. That should have hit it. Although, let's see, if I go to the enemy player, or enemy object, let's take a look at the collisions. Okay, that looks weird. That's not supposed to look like that. Okay, eyeball spawning doesn't actually matter. That was a weird collision mask. Don't even need the controller right now. Just use my mouse. Can't even hit the enemy now. Okay. So I need to go to object sword. I need to go to the draw event and draw. Clear alpha, draw. Sprite. I need to draw the collision mask. Either I draw the actual keyword collision mask, or there's actually a built-in function that does it for you. Mask index, yeah. So mask index. Okay. Although mask index should probably be, whoops, should probably have the image index be drawn with it. And the mask is actually red, so, or the mask is white and the player background is currently white, so I need to make sure that I do extended, and I have to do image image X scale, image Y scale, rotation 0, C white, and alpha of 1. I have a feeling that the scaling of the mask is wrong. That it hasn't been scaled up. Okay, what is it saying? Trying to draw a non-existent sprite. Mask index. Oh, because it's the same as sprite. Well, okay. So we'll draw image index. What? What? What is going on? Image index. Oh, sprite index. Whoops. That was weird. Okay. That was me drawing image index instead of sprite index. Okay. See, that should have returned a hit. Oh man. Unless, what if the scaling is correct, but image index is the animation frame inside of a sprite. So if you have 15 frames, image index returns the current frame of the animation that's being played. Image X scale. Okay, so when we are attacking, my sword mask image index equals image index of the parent sprite. The X scale, Y scale. So we're attacking here. So if the sword mask or my attack sets attack into equals true. Oh, actually, we can do this. If attack is equals, whoops, my attack and attack is equals false, so we don't like spam the button. But that doesn't really solve, you know, the actual problem at hand. So for example, for changing image into another, you can use that, or just have all the images, it's gonna swap as one sprite. You can have them all as one sprite or separate sprites. If you have like all your rooms in your entire game in one single sprite, and you have a small game, then, you know, it makes it easier. Okay. See, that should have worked, and that should have worked, and that should have worked. So if we're like right above the thing, that should have worked. That should have worked. So above it is fine. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Okay. So what if okay, so what if, since we added the slash for the main attack, if the slash blur is now part of the sword animation or the sword sprite, maybe we can just use that for the collision. So instead of doing it instead of our sword mask, how do you make the FPS counter? You can make the FPS counter by doing this. FPS real. That's the game speed, the real speed that the game is running at. So this is for debugging. So you have debug, show error, FPS. Two main ways you can be used. Okay, so in the second up, maximum value of the room speed itself. To get the true FPS, the actual number of CPU steps the game is per game step, use FPS real. But in this case, I don't need FPS real. I need FPS, as in the number of frames, not the CPU steps. So that I need to go to so in the draw event, instead of FPS real, I just need to draw the FPS value. So that should tell me how many frames per second the game is running at. Yeah, man, just copy paste. Stuff is already there. I mean, what are you copy pasting? Like the step event or the draw command, and that's pretty much it. Okay, here we go. So we're running at 60-ish frames, and the reason I'm ducking is, or dipping below, is because I'm recording this. Can't record and play at the same time. Okay, so player. Okay, so if attacking is equals false, we'll set it to true. We'll set image index to 0, sprite index. Ooh. Sprite player attack 1. And then we create our temporary variable, instance list, at the X and Y position of the player. We check the collision against object enemy master with the list of hit, enemies hit, and that returned, oh, that returned something, so that was working. And then push enemies. So this is where we go through every single one of the enemies that we've hit. Now lower end users. Well, that's where you gotta have a low end computer to test your game on. That's actually the reason why, even though I have the i5 machine, I still make games on this one. If this piece of crap can run it, any other computer can run it. It really makes you think about optimization. You know what they say is limitation breeds creativity. Really works out. Okay, so let's take a look at the player attack. And the collision mask. Oh, yeah, that's why. That's why it's so messed up. Actually, no wonder it's messed up. The enemies directly below the feet would not get detected in either case. And it doesn't matter what sort of a mask I pick. Okay. Okay. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to see, so how about we'll go into the eyeball. We'll say we'll draw, instead of draw self, draw sprite extended, sprite index, image index, xy, image, x scale, image, y scale, image, angle, color, or image. There is an image color, but I think it's called image blend. Image alpha. There you go. We've recreated the entire draw pipeline with the exact same built-in variables. Okay, yeah, here we go. Image blend. But the reason I wanted to do that is instead of image blend, it's actually going to be C orange. The blurry background in GameMaker looks terrible because of the bitrate. Oh. I'd imagine. I would imagine, man. Okay. Okay, so this is actually sort of working.
As you know, that was a dumb deal.
The main thing that we need to make this work is to make sure that the enemy doesn't get stuck to us. Right? So it's when the enemy is right in the middle when we start getting issues. So if, like right now, of course, that works. Oof. So I'm thinking the enemy eyeball should stop moving towards the player if the distance between the player or to the player is within like 32 pixels, 50 or 64. Why don't you use the powerful PC to stream your game making magic? Well, it wouldn't make it any better. I mean, if I use that, I mean, no, well, okay, I could technically make the game on that computer, but once again, testing, right? Compatibility and performance. Like, I could test the game on that computer, But if I use that computer for development, then I'll fall in the same trap as you did, where it's like, I have a super powerful computer. This game runs great on this computer, but will it run great on anyone else's computer? You don't know, right? This is why you actually need to have a low power computer, right? So don't toss away your old computers. Always keep them, right? So you can do testing on multiple systems. The free resources. Right. Your powerful PC to stream your game making magic. Yeah. So even in that case, I'm streaming this footage, which is the footage you're seeing right now. That's being recorded. That's going to go on the website. But with this computer, I'm also recording the clean footage, right? As you can see, clean footage, no overlays and stuff. Using to stream it, develop. I have one PC to do the workload, but why would that computer stream better than this one? Right? I mean, the stream looks fine, more or less, right? It's just the bitrate, but if I increase the bitrate, then you might experience buffering. That computer does nothing else but stream, right? And the bitrate on that is 250 kilobits. I mean, I could up it to 500. Or 5,000, sorry, not 500. Right, so that could go up, but you might experience buffering. First. Second, that was also recording the stream. So even though the stream may look bad there, it will still look clean on the clean recording that's being recorded here. That's going to go on the website. And it's not like any of these streams are going to be available after I stream them because of the music, right? So that's why I record these streams while I'm working on the game, and after the stream is done, I swap out the track. I delete the track that has music playing on it. That's just my vocal track, and that goes back on. It doesn't go on YouTube. It's gonna go on my website, right? This one. I mean, this one. Oh boy. Okay, so if not hit, that's correct. So this is the point where we actually move towards this. So we need to say if point distance to object player.x. I'm gonna have to swap this out for some sort of a dynamic system. .y, if it's above, let's do like 32 pixels, and then we'll do the movement code. Has to perform the ballerina act to point to the website. Yeah, pretty much. I know what it is now. Okay. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. So that's not really useful. We need to say else. If we are within the player's range, then we'll say speed equals 0. Okay, it's still kind of there. So we'll probably need to say if it's above 64. But the Once again, this is where there's a difference between like X distance and Y distance. Y distance is going to have to be a little bit closer. So Y distance would probably actually be 32 pixels. Just like that, yes. Okay. So I can take a look and see what the hell is going on here. So let me go to my sword, and instead of C white, we'll do C red, so that the collision mask for the sword gets drawn in red. I can actually see what the mask is. Okay. So you see, what the hell? There's no option to render panorama images without doing something called a cube map thing, which I don't want to learn. Well, I mean, if you don't want to learn, then oh well. Okay, so as you can see, this thing is not colliding. You know what it could be? Maybe it's colliding with the object player. Maybe that's what's happening. So, although there's no way that's happening because we just disabled the collision of the secondary object, so as in right here, instead of with object sword, we're actually doing the player collision. So let's go back and enable the mask again. So other dot list of hit. Now the player has a different mask though. The player mask is actually that, and his regular position is this, but the maybe that's what the game is making collision calculations against. Okay, let's see. As a matter of fact, our room, the player, there's the player, and the player creates an object sword on the later player. Interesting. Okay. Okay, that should be working. Okay, so how about we'll go to the player object, and we'll say the mask for the player is going to be that, which I'm still doing over here, so yeah, no. Okay, so when we attack, we set the sprite index to be the attacking sprite. We say my sword mask with that object. We're going to check instance place list. Oh, wait a minute. DS list destroy. Okay. Ah, maybe that's what I need to do. I don't know how efficient that is, because I create the list here. I don't think that's gonna do anything, but let's see, global dot list of hit, and then we'll go global dot list of hit, and then in here we're gonna say wait, if this variable is located here, then how are we getting access to it there? And then we'll do dsgrid clear. In this case, it's going to be dsgrid destroy, but it still doesn't make sense. I mean, it technically works, even though I don't destroy a dsgrid. Yeah. It's returning enemies hit 0. Why? Maybe there's a way to ignore instance player list. So object to check for instances. Given XY coordinates will be rounded to the nearest integer before the check. It's performed if this is not what you require, or you have been using a legacy GameMaker product, you should floor the coordinates of the check instance place list, floor X, floor Y, object, enemy list true. Okay, maybe that's what's happening. I'm not flooring it, although I don't know. That to me okay. Literally nothing is different. That should 100% return a collision. At least with these guys. And it's returning only a single hit. chances are, it is colliding with the player sprite. Although, again, if we take a look at this, okay, so there is a collision mask. So we set it to full tolerance. None of the sprites get masked. So that's good. Maybe that will do something. Although, why would it? Because the function that checks for the collision says which object we're checking the collision against. That should definitely be colliding. The collision mask is not always triggering it. That's not cool. Okay. Is there a limit to how many collisions it can return? 8, 7, 8, 5, 13. No. No limit. Wait a minute. Eyeball mask precision per frame. What if we go with just an ellipse? We'll say it's a manual ellipse. So it's going to be something like this. Panoramic renders. Or renders. Brenders. Okay. Literally does nothing. Look at that! Unless... Is the sprite scaling? Mask. Mask index. Is the scaling of the mask, is it proportional to the scaling of the image? Or do we have to scale it separately? Come on. I want to read up on this. Maybe I need to just increase the amount of frames I have in this animation. This is the last frame. So say with my sword mask. Ah. Okay. Place is the one that uses the mask. Position is the one that uses a single point. Okay, well that wasn't supposed to work because I'm going to go ahead and try to use the built-in mask, but I can't use the built-in mask because the can't use the built-in mask because the built-in mask is the square. Yeah, it's the square. So if I want to get the mask, the other mask to be the same, I need to delete this. Delete, yes. I'm gonna pay for that. it's gonna be complaining. Okay, I'll copy the animation that I've just revamped. Will be a mask now. And screw it, let's just leave it as it is. It'll just be a copy. Because the player's mask is not it's not this. Right, this is the standard player. The mask is not that. That's not the mask, even though that's a square. There's the error. But the mask is actually, it's this guy. When we go to create, we say the mask right here. It's the SBR player mask. So that is actually this block right here. This is what we're using to detect whether or not the player has stepped outside the level. And that's used for collisions. So I mean, a super ghetto way for me to detect whether or not the player has hit something would be to to just check if the player's close enough to the enemy when he hits the strike button, instead of using the pixel perfect collisions. Okay, what was the complaint? Oh yeah, that's right. Player sword. So that would actually be this guy. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Yes. Sandwiches. Yeah. Okay. Hey. Look at that. Ooh. It's like it's working every second time. What? Okay, how about this? Just for the sake of experiment, I'll create a new layer. We'll call it test. And when the player creates its sword check, we'll say test is the layer that it's going to create the sword object. So it's going to be above the player. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe. There you go. So now the mask is on top. Literally does nothing. Okay, so if that doesn't want to work well, top 10 times Miles reverted to his German roots. 99999. The code's not working. Oh boy. Object player. Okay. Instance nearest. Coming at a number 9. Oh man. I want the collisions to work. Okay, so what if I go to Object Player, get rid of this. Or how about I will get rid of this, same as sprite. I will go to that sprite. So this will be the attack sprite, collision mask, precise per frame. We'll say something like this. Okay, full image, manual, come on. Give me something. Oh wow. That's hilarious. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if this is an intended behavior. Let's see if we go to automatic. Okay. So let's go to manual. We'll create it to be, or set it to be the full image. Then we'll go automatic. So now we can actually do that. Okay, so that's the hitting animation. So technically right now, if I go to Object Player, I don't need this, so I don't need to create this guy. So I don't need this. No my sword mask whatsoever, nothing. Except, you know, I need to make sure that it's also commented out everywhere throughout the code. So I'm gonna see if whether or not by disabling the sword object, I would be able to. Okay, step 109. Right, so we don't need this. Yeah, so if I'm gonna regain more control over the mass collision, you know, maybe, you know what I'm thinking what it is? It only checks one single frame. I think that's what it is. And I think it's because I added this thing. Not only that, it only does it once when I press the button. That's what the problem is. Oh my, yeah, take a look at that. Take a look at the starting frame is the very beginning one. So That makes sense. So, the logic of it, I press on a button, it starts playing this animation, it starts with this frame, it checks collision for this frame, then it says attacking is true. Or not even that, don't even mind that. I press the button once. It starts with this frame, and then it continues. But it only checks the collision when I press on the button. Oh my god. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. So I know what to do. I need to move the code where I'm checking the collision for the object, for all the enemy objects. So you see what happens here, right? You see my attack, which is a result of me hitting either the left mouse button or the gamepad button. When we hit that mouse button once, press once, we then check the collision only once, because we press the mouse button only once. Oh, wow. Okay, so what I need to do now is actually do this. If we press on the mouse button, we go into the attacking mode. Yes. So we go into attacking mode. All of this code needs to actually take place in the attacking mode. So we'll say if attacking, right there, for as long as we are attacking, we need to be checking collisions for all of the attacking frames, right? So this is the part where we reset the attack mode. Okay, so for now we're just gonna check the collisions with the main player object. We'll move back to using the sword mask object, I think. So for as long as we are attacking, we're not gonna create the DS list every single loop, because that's just stupid. That's dumb. Okay, we'll create a DS list, and this will be not a global object. This will be a local. So in the step event, we're gonna go instance place XY of the player with enemy enemy object master, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, enemy master, and then we'll save into the DS list we created in the create event all the hit objects, and if it's true, it's organized by the hit order or the distance. Okay, and then we go through the loop for every one of those enemies, and we send them back flying. And then instead of destroy the list, we'll actually say clear, DS list clear. I'm under impression that that may work. I don't know. Okay. Okay. It's a good sign and a bad sign. Well, mostly a good sign. Okay, global variable name list of hit index not said before reading it. Oh, global, because on line 91 we're using a global one. Okay. Whew. Jesus Christ. That's why I put this thing over there. Okay. Ooh, that works. Nice. That actually works. It instantly kills them because it checks for a collision multiple times. But that's okay. All we need to do... It works. That's all I care. At least. Okay. So all we need to do now is... In the enemy thing, we get the ID. And then we say if... this enemy dot hit. So if it's not hit, then we'll go ahead and do this. Okay. Ooh, nice. So even if they surround me, that all works. And that works perfectly. Even if they're behind me, I could just do that. Beautiful. I love it. It's perfect. Well, I mean, it's almost perfect. It's not quite perfect, but it's getting there. Okay, so that means if I go with my eyeball thing, I can actually set it to precise now. I'm pretty sure it's a bug. Okay, the only thing is that we can travel outside of this land, and that's not what we need. Okay, now that it works, I can go back to using a secondary object, because I do need this object mask to move according to that mask, so that it doesn't go outside of the area, outside of the level. So while we are attacking, right, let's go ahead and make sure we create our collision mask object, and we are moving it along with us. The sword with player. Okay, so if we are attacking, there we go. That's the player attack 1. That's the player attack 1 mask. So this is what I need to mask out. Probably don't want to be triggering the player. Yeah. Okay, so this one has 5 frames. 5 frames. So, object player with my sword mask. So with this object, we're going to say, actually this loop, okay, I'm pretty sure this loop actually runs. Yeah, I think that loop actually runs just fine by itself. and this variable is somehow being accessed through here, even though it's within the my sword mask. Well, whatever. Maybe it only exists in this step event. I mean, it does, but step event of which object? Maybe it exists in any object that is involved in that step event. Okay. I think that should work. Whoops. Not said before reading. List object player sword list of hit. That's this guy. Other dot list of hit. Okay. Okay, almost, not quite. Collision mask. First thing I need to check. Oh, yes. I've set it to be disabled. Run now. Beautiful. Okay, let's get these things spawned and collect. Hey, that actually works. I can already see it. Green Panda, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in. Long time no see. Nice. Oh yeah. Alright, what have you been up to? Well, what I'm gonna do, make that a tiny bit smaller. And I'll make that 800 pixels, like that. Actually, I can make that 900 pixels. There we go. Been trying to practice Unity. How's that going? Oh, nice. What are you trying to make in Unity? Sort of a project, or are you just kind of, you know, mucking around? It's the attack of floating onion rings. It's the floating onion rings. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh boy. It can never be unseen. The floating onion rings. Okay, so that's another thing that I need to do. You see, we can like re-trigger this thing a whole bunch of times. And that's not what we're supposed to be able to do. So we say if MV attack is triggered and attacking is not true, then we'll set it to attack. So that we don't re-trigger it like a million times and spam it. Okay. So first of all, that works. Get out of here. So there's got to be like a four-part attack to it. Like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's fine. Let's see. If I go to the eyeball, make sure it's not an onion ring. There we go. Obviously, I'd have to redo some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff, revamp it, but at a later date. Okay. Also, another thing that I want to change is I want to get rid of this test layer that I specifically made for figuring out what the problem was. Delete layer. So in the object player, we're going to go ahead and create the sword object on the same layer as the player. I want to make the first level in Mario without enemies, pipes, and mushrooms. Oh man. I want to make like a Mario fan game where it's like it has been 80 years since Mario came out. And Mario's like all old and starts with like a comic book of him sitting in front of a fireplace. There's like a knock on the door. It's like raining, storming outside. There's a knock on the door. He opens the door. There's like a letter. Right? And it's like, you're needed at the castle. And then the entire game is basically like this old ass Mario walking through the first ever Mario level. Right? Like jumping over rusted pipes and destroyed, you know, destroyed grounds. And there's like skeletons of the Goombas that he killed. And he arrives at like at the castle by the end of the level, and there's like Bowser on his deathbed, or like just dead. It's just the entire thing is so depressing. Oh. There's like Peach standing next to Bowser's like pedestal. There's a light shining on Bowser. He was so old and so frail. We're getting old. Oh man. Okay, so I know that this is working. I think. Yes. Okay, so these things are actually coming kind of fast. I also need to implement the roll, so you could roll away. Super Mario destroying childhoods. Yeah. So what I need to implement are... Oh, jeez. I need to implement the roll and the block. There's a lot of logic that's gonna have to be coded into these enemies. So, for example, with these eyeballs, instead of constantly running at the player, I think they're gonna have to do some sort of like a range attack. Maybe. I mean, if the player gets close enough, then maybe they'll go in for a close quarter attack. Otherwise, Otherwise, it would all be ranged. Maybe. Trying to imagine it. Trying to imagine how you would fight this enemy. This would probably be a lot more reminiscent of something like Diablo, I think. I mean, if we take a look at Crawl, there's no more than maybe like, what, 4 enemies, 5 enemies in each room, considering you are fighting other players. So... yeah. You know what? I need to take a nap. I am like shutting down, but I know that if I go to take a nap, it's gonna be like maybe 45 minutes, and then I'll wake up and I'll be like awake for the entire night. So, yeah, give me like a little bit.